All right, let's talk about mysteries. Have you ever gotten to the end of a movie or a book and the big reveal happens and you're just left thinking, what? How did I miss that? Well, it turns out there's a secret formula. Writers have a whole playbook for hiding clues in plain sight, and today we're going to learn it. By the end of this, you'll have the toolkit to see the secrets they thought were perfectly hidden.
So, to figure out the rules of the game, we have to go back to the very beginning. We're opening the case file on what's basically the blueprint for all detective stories. Edgar Allan Poe's The Murders in the Rue Morgue. So get this, here's the scene. Two women have been brutally murdered inside their apartment. It's on the 4th floor, the door locked from the inside, the windows nailed shut. There is absolutely, positively no way in or out. It's the perfect impossible crime. And that's the central puzzle, right? When the crime scene makes no logical sense, when all the doors are locked and all the windows are sealed, where do you even start? Well, the crazy thing is, the answer isn't just in the evidence, it's in the way the story itself is told. Here's the secret. You can't just look at the what of the story. You have to look at the how. Mystery writers use this sort of secret language to nudge you in one direction while they're hiding the real answer somewhere else. Our job is to learn that language. And that brings us to our master key, this idea of a motif. It sounds fancy, but it's really simple. A motif is just anything, an object, an idea, a weird detail that the author keeps bringing up over and over again. Spotting these patterns is step one to cracking any case. Okay, now this is the most important part. Not all motifs are the same. The source material breaks them down into two types. First, you've got free motifs. Think of this as background noise, right? It's the decorative stuff designed to distract you. In our story, it's all the witnesses arguing about whether the killer spoke French or Italian or Russian. It's a total dead end. But then you have the bound motifs. These are the signal. These are the real clues. And in this case, that's the one thing every single witness agreed on: the killer's voice wasn't human. So the big question is, how do you separate the signal from the noise? How do you spot those critical bound motifs? Well, lucky for us, the source material gives us a bunch of strategies, and we've boiled them down to the 3 most powerful tools you can have in your detective's toolkit.
And here they are: the dangling motif, disproportionate detail, and the irrelevant character. Let's take a look at how each one of these works in practice. First up is the dangling motif. This one is all about repetition. You see, when a writer mentions a strange detail once, it's just a detail. But when they mention it again, and they never really explain it, that's not an accident. That is a clue they've left dangling for you to find and pull on. And in our case, this one is a game changer. One witness says the voice was French, another says Italian. They're all over the place. But the one thing they all say? The shrieks were bizarre, shrill, and totally unhuman. That repeated, unexplained detail, that's our dangling motif. Tool number 2 is called disproportionate detail. This one's pretty simple. If the author suddenly zooms in and spends a ton of time describing something, you need to ask why. It's like they're holding up a giant flashing neon sign that says, "Look here." That extra attention is almost always pointing to a clue. I mean, think about our case. Poe doesn't just say the women were killed. No, he spends ages describing in pretty gruesome detail how one victim was shoved up a chimney with unbelievable force, and the other was almost completely decapitated. This isn't just for shock value, it's a bound motif. It's screaming at us that the killer has absolutely superhuman strength. And our final tool is all about the people. Here's a rule for you. In a good mystery, there are no throwaway characters. If someone keeps popping up in the story but they seem to have zero connection to the plot, their very irrelevance is the clue. Nobody is just background scenery. So all throughout the witness accounts in this story, people mention seeing a sailor nearby. He seems totally random, right? Just a guy. But according to our source, this is a classic move. This seemingly unimportant character turns out to be the one link that pulls the whole mystery together. Okay, we have our tools. We've examined the evidence. Now it's time to do this. Let's put it all together and crack this impossible case. We're going to filter out all that noise, all those free motifs, and see what essential clues are left standing. And once we use our toolkit, the real clues just snap right into focus. We have a voice that doesn't sound human. We have strength that is way beyond human. We have an entry point, this specific window that could only be reached with an incredible, agile leap. And we have this mysterious sailor who keeps showing up.
So you just have to ask the question, who or what fits every single one of these clues? A person just doesn't work. The evidence fights you at every turn. You can't make the pieces fit with a human suspect. We need a totally different kind of answer.
And there it is. The answer that seems completely insane at first is actually the only one that makes any sense. An escaped orangutan, owned by that sailor. It has the unhuman voice, it has the unbelievable strength, it has the agility to get to that window. It is the only suspect that checks every single box.
Now look, this is way bigger than just solving a really old Edgar Allan Poe story. This is a framework. It's a whole new way of looking at any mystery you ever read or watch from now on.
Seriously, think of it like a superpower. You can now see the hidden architecture underneath the story. You can spot the little traps and tricks writers use to build their puzzles. You can see the clues they thought were perfectly camouflaged.
So the next time you're settling in for a movie night or picking up a new thriller, just keep this toolkit in your back pocket. Listen for those details that keep repeating. Pay attention when the author lingers on a description a little too long. And always, always be suspicious of the character who has no reason to be there. If you can learn to separate the noise from the clues, you'll be amazed at what you can see.
And that's really what I want to leave you with. Think about your favorite mystery novel or film, the one that completely blew your mind at the end. With these tools, what do you see now? What clues, hidden right there in plain sight, have you been missing this whole time? Thanks for tuning in.